Well, I'm very honored and privileged to be here. Not so sure about following Michael, but I'll do my best. So shall I just start, Nick? Shall I get on with it? Shall I?
Get on with it, lad.
All right. Okay, this is my high-tech setup for Zoom that I did in the first week of lockdown, and I've never changed it. So what was really cool and state of the art at the beginning of the first lockdown now looks kind of archaic and rather funny. So it's a garden cane. I have a camera on top of my monitor here that I need to move. And so everyone feels seasick at this point. So sorry about that. Need to move the wires everywhere. So here we go. And blah, 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 blah. And hopefully it'll land here. Yes, you saw my sweater there, my lovely sweater. And yes, that's upside down. Well done, Paul. You see, I'm so used to doing this post-COVID.
Impressive.
There we go. So this is my mouse, just so you can see the mouse. This is my wire here, just so we can move the wire. Need to organize my light because that's awful. Turn this one off. Oh,
your
dear.
mouse has no tail, Paul.
Yes, it doesn't, does it? But come on, boy, come on, off you go, off you go. So, okay, this is where we are, and these are my hands. I hope so. And you're going to need 4 or 5 sheets of origami paper, different colors, perhaps. Some dark colors would be nice, perhaps not yellow and white, because you don't see the contrast very much. It's not quite so good if it's yellow and white. So I'll give you a few seconds to organize some paper. What I'm going to show is one idea. Michael showed you his rabbit. Well, I'm going to show you some vehicles. They're all the same, but they're all different. And they're all different because they're made with different proportions at the beginning. Some of them are a half, some of them are a third, and each time it gives you something different. Now, the reason that I do this is perhaps you know that myself and my wife, Miri Golan, we run a program in schools. We teach origami in the geometry class. We call it Origametria. And we're constantly looking for simple things that children can make. And it's actually quite difficult to make something simple, to create something simple, because origami, well, it's a bit like chess. You know, how many good games of chess are there with 5 moves, 10 moves? There are more good games with 15 moves, 20 moves, 30, 40 moves, and so on. So it seems that the more you fold, the more you find. So to make something good, wow, with just a few folds, perhaps isn't so easy. Certainly not if you've got a small brain like me. So we're always trying to find things that are simple and things you can play with, things that you can change the idea of, because these go down very well in the class. The children love to make these, and also to introduce ideas of geometry as well. So I'm going to make 4 vehicles, teach you how to make them. They're all the same, they're all different. And I hope you'll find this interesting as a way of thinking and a way of working. Yes, my camera, it's one of these expensive cameras that likes to go out of focus. Very annoying. Okay, so we have some paper here. Oops. So white and green. So we start with the color side up, although it doesn't really matter, and fold in half, edge to edge. So I like to fold away from myself all the time. Of course, I can't see a thing because I'm folding green on green, but never mind. I can't remember the last time I did some teaching by Zoom, some origami teaching. Must have been half a year ago or something. So as you can see, I'm totally used to this. I'll then open out. And what we're going to do now is take the corner at the bottom right, this corner down here, and fold it up to the center line. Now, our philosophy of folding is a little different to that of Michael's. Michael was saying leave a little space so it folds comfortably. And yes, you should do that. He's absolutely right. But if you're 7 years old, it's not quite so easy to do that. And it can make the children a little stressed about getting it right. And it's not perhaps so important. So if you don't fold perfectly, it really doesn't matter for my concern. Now, rotate the paper round so this goes to the top. And then we can fold in half over the top. So we just see the white rectangle, and the fold we made is on the back, it's hiding. Okay, this is a raw edge at the top. Rather than pull it down to fold, I like to rotate the paper again. So I do a lot of rotating, spinning around, turning the paper around so I can fold away from me. I find it so much easier to do. That's, just my personal way of doing it, and perhaps because of habits, you just do it again and again and again, and you can't really do it any other way. All these are very basic, simple folds. One thing young children don't like are fold to about here, fold to about there, because they don't really know what to do. Probably adults as well. It's much easier if you're beginning to fold in half, to fold 45 degrees and so on. Turn the paper round, and can you see we have a sort of car shape? You need to use your imagination here. Okay, so car shape, but we're missing two very important things: wheels. So where do we make the wheels, or where is the paper? Well, we have a loose corner here. And some white underneath. So we can just fold the corner back and we make a square wheel. Square wheel. It's a Fred Flintstone car. And the same at the back. Another square wheel. Now, the difference between these cars is not how you make the wheels. The wheels are all the same, as you'll find out. But what makes them different when we fold them is what we do before we fold the wheels, how we proportion the paper. Okay, now that looks a bit silly, doesn't it? I mean, it's a bit, it's a car, but it's not a car. It's not really right. So we have to make the wheels a little bit more circular. And the way we do that is to try to imagine an octagon, 8 sides, an octagon on the white paper. So we fold, can you see there are 3 loose corners of the octagon? This is loose here. This is, of course, loose there, and this is loose here. But that corner, we can't really do anything with. And we can't make a corner of the octagon, a side of the octagon here. It doesn't let us, but we can on the other 3 corners. So what we have to do is to sort of just estimate. It's not a half, it's not a quarter, it's not really a third. There will be a mathematical proportion for it. The temptation is to fold too much. So you could perhaps just fiddle around a little bit. So we try and make all the sides the same length. Can you see that this is about the same as the side here is about the same as that one? And we can fold a 3rd corner at the top. So we folded 3/4 of a wheel. And then we do the same with the back wheel. So again, we have 3 loose corners that we can fold behind. And we try to imagine this octagon of 8 sides that are all equal. And again, the temptation is to fold too much. So just be careful you don't fold too much. And there we are. Very simple, very easy to make, very stylized. I know that. And the corners of the wheels here are 90 degrees, but I don't care because it's a car. We don't need to make it perfectly like a car, do we? Well, I don't think. It's a piece of paper folding. It's not a car, it's a piece of paper folding. So I'm happy to leave these corners square, but I know some people will be a bit upset because it's not very realistic, whatever that means. If you want to, you can take the corner off at the back, make it a little more rounded here. Don't know. But I just leave it like this. So this is the simplest version of the 4 because we began by folding in half and then the quarter. So this is where we start. So we're going to do the same kind of thing to make this cab at the front and to make 2 wheels, but we're going to change the proportion. So I'm going to put that out of the way, and I'm going to bring in some more paper. Second sheet. Oh, bright red. So this time, let's try something a little different. Same kind of theme. Fold in half so we see a white rectangle. Color on the inside. And open out. So originally what we did with the green car, we folded in half and then the edge came back. What we're doing now is we're making a quarter like we did before, but we're not folding back, having folded the paper in half. We're just folding the edge to the center. Okay. So now we can make the cab. I find it easier to turn the paper round, turn the car upside down, and then again here at this bottom right corner, fold in the triangle, go up to the white rectangle, so the 2 touch each other, and then make the fold. So the car is upside down, as you can imagine. It's just easier to fold it this way, I think. And then spin it round again so it goes up to the top. So again, very simple, very stylized, geometric folding. There's nothing, you know, fold it to about here, fold it to about there. It doesn't really matter. Those folds don't matter because we're folding very geometrically. Now the wheels, okay, we have loose corners here, so we can make square wheels. So there's my colored square at the front and a colored square at the back. So the 2 cars, when you look at them side by side, are sort of similar, aren't they? But theme and variation. You take a very simple idea, which is really a way to make wheels. This is what we're doing each time. we're making the wheels in a different way, and also the cab, I guess. But it's basically about making wheels. Now, this time, if we look at the wheels, we don't have 3 corners that we can fold in. We only have 2, the 2 corners at the bottom. The 2 corners at the top of the wheel, we can't really fold them behind. So we have to fold just the 2 corners at the bottom. Again, we have to imagine an octagon. So don't make the folds too big. Probably a little bit less than you might think. Try to keep, and that's too much. Try to keep the edges about the same length. So that's about right. You see, so this side here, the edge, and then the bottom, and then on the right, they're all about the same. So do it once, and then do the same with the back wheel. Something like that. And again, we have a car. So we can leave it like that. Or we can add 1 or 2 more folds to it. I mean, how simple can you make a car? Maybe this is an interesting kind of aesthetic, technical, philosophical question. When does an origami fold become a car or a vehicle of some kind? How much detail do you need? How much suggestion do you need to make a car? To me, this is enough. Whether it's good or not is a different question, isn't it? I'm not talking about doing something that's maybe the greatest fold you've ever made. I'm talking about, when does something become recognizable? And to me, that's a very interesting question. Not how realistic, can I make it, but how can I make it realistic? What is the point when it becomes recognizable? Okay, there is something else that I do with this. Turn it over. Turn it around. So again, the car is upside down. So now we can make one of those rat folds that Michael was talking about, R-A-T, right about there. One of those right about there folds. So this is the top of the cab here, this little edge at the bottom, and we can fold it up. So now this is not crucial, so that the colored rectangle is about the same as the space that remains between the rectangle and the mountain fold. So something like that, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, don't have to kind of stress yourself about it, but something like that. So the height of the colored rectangle is about the same as the height that remains between the edge of the rectangle and the mountain fold. And then we can turn back over. More like a van, isn't it, than a car? Transit. And again, if you want, it doesn't really matter. You can fold the top corner backwards just a little bit, but you don't have to. So this is the second fold. They're very, very simple, aren't they? I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to teach them, if I'm honest. So if you don't like them, blame Nick. He chose them. Okay, so kind of, theme and variation here. Very similar, but they're slightly different. So we make the wheels in the same way and the cab in kind of the same way, but we folded 1/4 on top, and that gave us the green car, and 1/4 to the center, which gave us the red van or whatever it is. So, okay, they're very simple, very, very simple. Let's put them to the side. Another piece. This is our own paper, by the way. We actually make our own origami paper. We work in something like 600 schools, so we need a lot of origami paper, and we found it was very complicated and very expensive to import it. Everybody says that, oh, origami paper from the Far East is very cheap, and perhaps it is, but if you don't buy a container load, but you buy a pallet load, it's expensive. And these days shipping is 4 times the cost that it used to be 2 years ago. So we make our own paper. We make about 1 million squares a year. It's quite an operation, as you might imagine. And we make different sizes too. But we actually enjoy this paper. It's very nice to fold. It's a little softer than the paper from the Far East. The paper from the Far East is very crisp, which is very nice, but this is softer. It's more yielding. It's actually easier to fold. We prefer it. Okay, so number 3, I need to look at some notes here because this is something that needs a bit of thinking about. Okay, yes, I've done my thinking. Okay, now this time we need to make not a full diagonal, because that's going to make a mess. Don't make a full diagonal. What you need to do is bring the corners together, so we have a colored out of focus rectangle. Oh, I love it when the camera does that. Just thank you. Just hold the corners together so that they are together, and then your other finger hand just run down to the middle, and you only need to make just 2 or 3 centimeters in the middle, or vaguely in the middle. It doesn't need to be mathematically in the middle, something like that. So when you open out, you have that. This is just a marker for the next fold. We're not going to use that fold. Looks rather nice in the light, doesn't it? I do like these low lights that make shadows on the paper, rather aesthetic. I have a studio here with 2 glass windows. So I always work with a window in front of me, so I get a shadow cast in front. I don't like working with top light or side light. I work with front light all the time. And I have special lamps in the studio that hang above the table. So when it's dark at night, I can turn them on, and I have a frontal low light. One is a yellow bulb and one is a daylight bulb. So when you mix them together, it gives a natural daylight color. Works very well for me. Okay, so the edge at the bottom, don't fold, just watch me do this. We're going to bend, not fold. So we bring the edge up to that center line that we made. You see, it goes up to the center, and you kind of stretch the edge between my left finger here at the corner and what I'm holding. Just sort of stretch it. It doesn't need to be millimeter perfect. And when you've done that, this is the mark here that we need to make. Just a little nick, just a little pinch there. So this is important here. Now, if that doesn't go exactly to the corner, it's okay. Don't stress yourself about it. Okay, so this is the point here that's important. Michael has a proper pointer. I just use a pencil. Now, I'm just going to mark this just so that everybody can see it. I don't particularly recommend that you do this yourself, but it's just easier to see. Okay, now from that point, or somewhere near it, we're going to fold the paper up. So we make the fold from that point. So however you want to do that, you can do it. So I'm going to pick mine up and just squeeze at that corner, so I find the end point, and then put it back down and just check all the edges are lined up. There we go, and fold across. So we have a different proportion to the quarters that we had before, and this is going to give us different results for the wheels and also for the cab. So there's a little bit more folding in this than for the others that we made earlier. Okay, now you know I like to fold away from myself. So rather than pull this edge back down, which I don't like to do, I'm going to turn the paper round and then fold the edge back to the fold. So everything is white. And then, just checking my notes again off camera, because I'm liable to forget. I'm not very good at remembering. Then we take the edge at the bottom, this raw edge, the edge of the square, sound effect, and fold it up to the folded edge that's not quite in the middle. I don't think that's in the middle. Is that fifths or not quite? No, I don't think so. Looks like fifths, doesn't it? But I don't think it is exactly. Okay, so now we can just unfold this paper that's here at the top. Turn the paper round the other way so the color goes up to the top. And just for a bit of variety, we're going to change the colors here from color to white, white to color. We're going to swap all the colors around just to live dangerously. So now we're going to make the cab that's here at the top. So we're going to fold down a triangle. But again, as I always say, I like to fold away from me. So rather than pull it down, I'm going to turn round and fold up, spin it back. Now, because you've got this layer at the back, at the bottom, you see this extra piece at the back, this white piece, we can now fold up over the triangle and we have a sort of car shape, don't we? Where we have loose corners here that we can make wheels from. We have a cab at the top, but this time it's the same color as the rest of the cab. It's not, you know, white and colored like it was before, white and a color. This is color. So let's make the wheels. Square wheels, our Fred Flintstone wheels at the beginning. Here we go. Here's one wheel. Here's the other wheel at the back. This looks a little more sporty, doesn't it? But it's the same theme. You understand that, I hope, that we've got pretty much to the same place as the other two cars, with a little bit more folding than before. But it gives us different proportions and it gives us a different look. So now we can finish off the wheels. So this time we have three corners that we can fold to make the octagon. This corner here we can't fold. We can't fold it behind, but we can fold that one behind, that corner behind, and also that corner. So, okay, just pick the paper up, fold back a little bit. You don't need to fold a lot. Maybe by this time you're understanding what to do. You don't need to fold too much. Try to keep all the edges the same length. So those are 2 and 1 more at the bottom of the window. 3. So 3 corners have been folded back. We can't fold that corner behind. Oh, and then we repeat with the back wheel. This seemed to make a difference to the look of it, to the kind of logic of the structure, to fold an octagon and not some weird 8-sided, or what's that, 7-sided? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7-sided figure. Try to keep the edges the same length. It does seem to make a difference to how it looks. So again, we could leave it like that. You know, why not? Because we have the car, we know it's a car, we can, you know, make a collage, make a traffic jam, make a car park of these, but we can also play with this a little bit. And so what I do is this corner here, you can fold it up. It's a bit like making another wheel, isn't it? So we can fold this up at the back just to make maximum use of all the layers and the corners. That's supposed to be good origami technique, isn't it? Where you use everything rather than fold half of it out of sight. I always get disappointed making animals and things where you sink half the paper to make the back, you know. Some 90-degree corner gets sunk into the body of the animal. Never seems very elegant to me as a piece of technique. So we have this white square at the back, and what I do now is I make a mountain fold from the corner, from the white corner here. Maybe it's easy just to turn it over and kind of feel or look where this white corner ends, and then make a fold. Can you see that runs into the corner here? So on the back, you're working sort of blind, aren't you? But do your best. It's not crucial, is it really? Not crucial. So that just gives a little bit more detail and uses all the layers that we can do and all the free corners, the free points that we have to give the car a little bit more detail. Car number 3. So now we have 3. The green, the red, and the orange. They're all the same, they're all different. Theme and variation. One of the things we try to do when we teach origami is to give the children the ability to create their own things. The comment we hear a lot about origami from the children is that they like to do origami because they can create. Not just copy, but create. So this is a very important part of the philosophy of the class when they're learning geometry. Okay, so we have a line of 3 cars here. Quite useful having a cutting mat with lines on it. I can put them all straight. Okay, so one more. Put them to one side. What color didn't I use? Oh, this one. Here we go, white and color. And this time, well, we started with half and we made halves and a quarter. So let's begin by estimating a third. So what this means is that when you fold up, the white part is the same as the color. It does not need to be exact. You don't need to do all this fancy, folding to find an exact third. Now, if you've got a cutting mat like me that's in 5 centimeter squares, and your paper is 15 centimeters, then you can cheat. So I can put the paper into the corner of the white square here, and I can fold up, and I can do this quite accurately with my cutting mat. I know that's a complete cheat and it's not fair, but I can do it. But it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. They do not have to be absolutely, equal. Just do your best. Most people can do it pretty well. You don't have to fret and worry about making it perfect. But if you've got a cutting mat, it's simple. Okay. So a slightly different starting point. We have a third, not a half and a quarter. So we're going to have different proportions and a different geometry, aren't we? Let's make the cab. So, okay, I think you know how to make cabs by now. You're experts at this. So again, I don't like to fold down. So I turn the paper round and I fold this corner up to the white rectangle to make a triangle. I should say that we've had the Origametria site redesigned and rebuilt, and our technicians were from the Ukraine. So we've been working with people from Kiev all through the war. And there have been a few very difficult days where they've had to go off the air because their power went. One time, one of the technicians we were working with, her building received a missile hit. So we understand the realities quite well of what's happening there because we're working with people from the Ukraine daily. We've been working with them throughout 2002. They're very good technicians. We enjoy to work with them. They really know their job, but tough times, really tough. But they're very brave. And I think in a sense, this is not just money and work that we're giving them. It's also a kind of purpose, if you know what I mean. Yeah, lovely people. Okay, now we need to make wheels. So just to explain, turn it round again. So this is now the correct way up. So we're going to make the wheels by folding this white rectangle in half, as you might expect, except I don't like to fold towards me. I like to fold away. So keeping the paper this way, you can fold up and the white rectangle disappears. Turn it round again. And you can probably guess what we're going to do now. We're going to make wheels, aren't we? Now, you're probably now, after making 3 sets of wheels, you're world experts at doing this. You can go on a lecture tour making wheels because you know how to make them. So we make squares, don't we? Square wheels. Square wheels. But we don't want square wheels, do we? Because that looks silly. So we can make the octagon. So how many corners can we fold? How many corners here can we fold to make an octagon? Well, we can fold this corner, the inside corner, and we can fold that corner, the outside corner, but we can't fold these 2 corners here, top left, bottom right. Those won't fold behind. So we're making a wheel with 2 corners that we can fold behind, not 3. But again, try to keep that kind of octagon proportion. It just seemed to look right. Don't take too much off or too little. Something like that. It's a wheel, isn't it? I mean, we know it's a wheel. We don't have to make it a circle to make it look like a wheel. We know it's a wheel. This is what I'm saying about the recognition aspect of origami. I know it's a little abstract, but this is what it is. This is what it does proudly. You know, I'm not apologizing for that. I'm just explaining it. Because I know sometimes people can be a little bit kind of, it's not really a wheel. There's only 2 wheels. Where's the driver? Can't you put the logo on the side? Why is it flat and not 3-dimensional? Because it's an origami vehicle, that's why. So we could leave it there, as I keep saying. We could leave it there, you know, why not? Or we can do a little bit of folding at the top, just to lose a little bit of the top edge. So we can turn over. See the wheel corners at the bottom. Spin it round, because I always fold away from me. The edge at the bottom here, we can fold a little bit. It doesn't need to be a lot. We can fold a couple of centimeters or a bit. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Enjoy yourself. Go for it. Take a risk. Doesn't really matter how much. And if you do it wrong, as Michael said, it's just a piece of paper. You can do it again. You can, you can refold it. And this is what it's like on the other side. Maybe just taking that corner off gives it a little bit more shape at the front. And again, if you want just to make it more aerodynamic, don't make me laugh, then you can fold a corner behind at the back. But you don't have to. So those are the 4 vehicles. Maybe actually I've got some colored paper here. Maybe they'll all fit on here, make it a little bit more cheerful. So are they too big? Yeah. Well, no, they just about fit. Oh, this is 30-centimeter A4 card, so they will just fit, won't they? So this is what we've just made. I hope that was interesting. It's part of our way of teaching, because we want to encourage creativity. And anybody who knows my kind of way of creating knows that I enjoy to make things that are very simple, maybe too stylized at times, but that's just my taste. It's what I enjoy. And if it's what I enjoy, it's what I do, isn't it? But I do like these designs. I think there's something quite nice about them. There are many, many simple vehicles, but these are perhaps simpler than any that I've seen. And I haven't seen any made this way. And I was interested that you can make different variations for the wheels, but you can also do other proportions, folding into 5, folding A4, folding just different proportions. You can really play with these to create your own cars and vans and trucks and whatever you like. I've made quite a fleet of these different vehicles over the months. These are my 4 favorites because they all hang together as a group. Other thing I should say perhaps is that looks like I'm close to signing a contract with the publisher, and these will soon be in a book of my new models. During lockdown, I started to create models again, not just for Origametria, but for me. So in a year and a half or so, there should be a book available of my sort of lockdown models that are all very simple and stylized, and are not necessarily so simple, but this kind of aesthetic. So thank you very much. I enjoy teaching those. It's been a long time since I've done any Zoom teaching. I usually teach students face to face rather than with Zoom. Does anybody have any questions?
Paula asked, thank you, Paul. Paula Crick asked, when you work with children, do they tend to draw on the models?
Yes, they do. Yes, we let them, which I know is naughty that that the origami police don't let you do this. But yes, we do. The children instinctively want to draw the driver and the steering wheel, and they put a logo on the side, and they draw a tire in the wheels. They want to do this, and we let them do it because it makes it individual. Then it's their car, their truck, their van. It's not just looking like everybody else is in the room. This is why they want to do it. And then what they'll often do is, if they've got a piece of paper, so we say to them, if you're going to draw on it, draw on a piece of paper. Put your model on a piece of paper so you don't draw on your desk, because sometimes the crayon or a pencil slips and they start to draw on their table and they get into trouble. So we tell them to put their model on some A4 paper that we give them. So if they slip off, then it doesn't really matter. So what they do is they then start to draw on the paper to make a road, to make houses, to make trees, and they make a complete picture. So this starts often as something quite small, but becomes bigger. However, we need to remember that that this is not a craft class. We're teaching geometry. It's a mathematics class. It's not an arts and crafts class. So the teacher can sometimes limit, the amount of class time when they do this, because it takes up too much teaching time. So often this is done in the break or lunchtime or something. When the children then have time, they'll come back to it to complete the picture. So we need to be quite sensitive about the needs of the class. We understand the needs of the children, but the needs of the curriculum can sometimes be a little different. So yes, we do let them draw, but maybe not in the class time, because this is a geometry class. Nice question. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. I hope you did too. And I hope you'll, experiment with your own vehicles. And I hope to see you face to face sometime. Thank you.
And give our love to Mary, please.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Nick.